All right, listeners, welcome back for another deep dive with me. And
Hi, everyone.
you know her, you love her, she's the one and only.
Oh, stop it.
I won't stop it. She's amazing, But anyway, we're looking at, we're going to jump right into it. A fascinating article today.
Very fascinating.
Super fascinating, titled, Ruto Welcomes Trump's Gender Statement.
Ooh.
Now, that's quite a mouthful, isn't it?
It is quite a mouthful.
And it leaves us with a lot of questions, doesn't it? Like, what is going on here?
Well, I think the intrigue really comes from this idea of a president welcoming another president's statement specifically about gender.
Right.
And so we have President Ruto of Kenya and then U.S. President Trump.
Yeah.
And the article highlights, the fact that Ruto is welcoming this statement, calling it a strong statement on gender.
Strong statement.
And then uses this very specific language, male and female gender.
With 2 exclamation points.
With 2 exclamation points.
Which is, notable, isn't it?
It is notable.
2 exclamation points, almost never a good sign. You know what I mean?
Almost never.
But, yeah, so what is it about this wording that is so noteworthy?
Well, I think to understand that we really need to sort of zoom out and look at the bigger picture of what was happening at the time.
Yeah, what was the context surrounding gender issues when all of this was going down?
So this was a period of really intense debate and change regarding gender identity and LGBTQ plus rights globally.
Okay.
For listeners who need a quick refresher, gender identity refers to a person's deeply felt sense of their own gender,
Right.
which may or may not align with the sex they were assigned at birth. And LGBTQ plus food, of course, stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and other diverse gender identities and sexual orientations.
Gotcha. So these topics were very much front and center.
Absolutely. They were front and center. And so President Trump's words could be interpreted as supporting a more traditional binary view of gender, male and female only, which was at the time increasingly being challenged by those advocating for the recognition of diverse gender identities.
Right.
There were legal battles over transgender rights, the increasing visibility of non-binary individuals, a push for gender-neutral language. This was all happening.
That's right, yeah.
And so this is the landscape that President Trump's statement landed in.
Okay, so we've got this, this backdrop of change and discussion, and then Trump makes a statement that seems to push back against those evolving ideas about gender, and then Ruto welcomes it.
Right.
But why is Ruto's reaction so significant?
So I think the reason his reaction matters so much is because it hints at a potential shift in Kenya's own approach to these issues.
Okay.
Kenya has its own, complex history with LGBTQ plus rights. And at the time, same-sex relationships were criminalized. And there was very limited recognition or protection for transgender individuals.
Oh, wow.
So Ruto welcoming Trump's statement could be a lot more than just a diplomatic pat on the back. It could signal a potential alignment with those more traditional views on gender and potentially affect how LGBTQ plus rights are addressed in Kenya.
I see, but couldn't it also be like a purely diplomatic gesture? Like not necessarily a reflection of Ruto's, personal beliefs or...
Absolutely. And that's, I think, a really important point is we can't just assume.
Yeah.
We know exactly what's going on in President Ruto's head.
Right.
But I think it's still really worth considering the potential consequences of such a statement, right?
Yeah.
Imagine the impact on LGBTQ plus individuals in Kenya who might feel further marginalized.
Right.
Or even endangered by this shift in political climate.
Wow, that's something I hadn't really considered, to be honest.
She really is.
Yeah, so this seemingly simple headline, it's a lot more complex than it looks on the surface.
Absolutely.
Like peeling back layers of an onion.
Like an onion.
Political onion.
Exactly.
The more you peel back, the more you find.
Yeah, and I think that's where the real discussion begins.
It begins, yeah.
Because it raises all of these really important questions. Like, how do statements from world leaders, particularly on sensitive topics, like gender, impact global discourse and shape policies?
Yeah.
What responsibility do they bear? Considering these diverse perspectives, right?
Right.
And the potential ramifications of their words.
Wow, it's a lot to think about.
It is a lot.
So listeners, there you have it. A deep dive into a headline that, as we've seen, is less about the news itself and more about the ripple effects it creates.
Exactly.
So keep those questions in mind as you navigate this, this crazy world, this complex,
ever-evolving
world of gender and politics.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll catch you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
I know what you can handle.